Hello my dears, how are you? I hope you will all be fit and fine. Then let's begin the night of the talking pumpkins. Once upon a time in the quaint village of Willow Creek, there was an old farm known as Whispering Fields. This farm was famous for its enormous pumpkin patch that attracted people from all over the region every Halloween. But the pumpkins at Whispering Fields were no ordinary pumpkins. Legend had it that on the night before Halloween, these pumpkins would come to life and whisper secrets to those brave enough to listen. The farm was owned by old Farmer Jenkins, a kind but eccentric man who loved telling stories to the local children. He would often warn them about the pumpkins, saying, "Be careful what you ask the pumpkins, for they might just answer you back." One crisp autumn evening, three friends, Tommy, Lucy, and Max, decided to spend the night at Whispering Fields. They were all in their early teens and full of curiosity, especially Tommy, who never believed in ghost stories or legends. Lucy, on the other hand, was always up for an adventure, and Max was the cautious one who preferred to stay out of trouble. But the allure of the talking pumpkins was too strong to resist, so they all agreed to meet at the farm after sunset. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the trio made their way through the dense fog that had settled over the village. The air was chilly, and the only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath their feet. When they reached the farm, the pumpkin patch seemed to glow eerily in the moonlight. "Let's find the biggest pumpkin and see if it really talks," Tommy said with a grin, trying to mask his nervousness. Lucy and Max exchanged a glance, but followed Tommy deeper into the patch. They finally found a massive pumpkin sitting right in the center. It was the size of a small boulder and had an odd, twisted stem. "Go ahead, Tommy," Max whispered, "ask it something." Tommy rolled his eyes, but leaned in close to the pumpkin. "All right, pumpkin," he said mockingly, "if you're so smart, tell us something we don't know." For a moment, there was silence. The friends stared at the pumpkin, half expecting nothing to happen. But then, a deep, gravelly voice echoed from within the pumpkin. "Be careful what you wish for, young ones," the pumpkin rumbled. "Knowledge is a gift, but it can also be a curse. Ask wisely." The friends jumped back in shock, their hearts racing. The pumpkin had actually spoken. But instead of running away, Tommy, ever the skeptic, decided to press on. "Okay, tell us what will happen to us in the future," he challenged. The pumpkin's eyes, yes, it had eyes now, glowed a sinister orange as it replied, "If you continue down this path of recklessness, you will each face a trial that will test your courage, friendship, and wisdom. Only those who learn the lesson will escape the darkness." Suddenly, the fog thickened, and the world around them seemed to shift. The pumpkin patch was no longer the cozy, familiar place they knew. It was darker, colder, and the pumpkins were now grinning menacingly. Lucy clutched Max's arm. "What do we do?" Tommy, still trying to be brave, said, "We face the trials. It's just a bunch of tricks, right? We can handle this." As they began to walk through the patch, they encountered their first trial, a narrow path lined with thorns. The path seemed to stretch on forever, and there was no way around it. "This must be a test of courage," Tommy said. "We have to walk through it." But as they started, the thorns seemed to come alive, reaching out to snag their clothes and skin. The pain was sharp, but Tommy pushed forward, determined to prove his bravery. Lucy and Max followed, each wincing as the thorns pricked them. When they finally reached the end, they were exhausted and covered in scratches. But the fog began to lift slightly, and they felt a small sense of accomplishment. The second trial was a rickety old bridge over a deep ravine. The planks were rotten, and the ropes frayed. Max looked at it and shook his head. "This is a test of friendship. We can't make it across unless we help each other." Tommy started across first, his confidence wavering as the bridge creaked under his weight. Halfway across, a plank broke, and he nearly fell, but Max and Lucy grabbed him just in time. With their combined strength and teamwork, they managed to cross the bridge safely. The fog lifted a bit more, and they felt closer as friends, their bond strengthened by the challenge. The final trial led them to a small clearing where a single, beautiful pumpkin sat on a pedestal. It glowed softly and looked completely different from the others, almost inviting. But the pumpkin's voice returned, more solemn than before. This is the test of wisdom. The pumpkin in front of you holds a secret that will change your lives forever. But sometimes, the wisest choice is not to seek what is hidden, but to accept what is known. Choose wisely. Tommy, Lucy, and Max stood before the glowing pumpkin, each thinking deeply about what the voice had said. Tommy, who had learned to respect the pumpkin's warnings, was the first to speak. We've come this far by working together and trusting each other. Maybe the lesson here is to not be greedy for knowledge or power. We should leave the secret where it is. Max nodded. Yeah, we've faced enough tonight. We don't need any more surprises. Lucy agreed. Let's just go home. We've learned what we needed to. As they turned to leave, the fog finally lifted completely, revealing the familiar sights of whispering fields. The pumpkins were no longer menacing, and the path home was clear. As they walked away, the pumpkins whispered once more, but this time, it was a gentle, reassuring sound. When they returned to the village, they found Farmer Jenkins waiting for them at the gate. He smiled knowingly and said, "You faced the talking pumpkins, and passed their trials. Remember, my young friends, courage, friendship, and wisdom will always guide you through the darkest of times." The trio nodded, understanding now that the real horror wasn't in the talking pumpkins, but in the choices they made and the lessons they learned. They walked home with lighter hearts, knowing they had grown wiser that night. From that day on, Tommy, Lucy, and Max became closer than ever. They knew that life would always present challenges, but as long as they stayed brave, worked together, and made wise choices, they could face anything that came their way. And as for Whispering Fields, it remained a place of wonder and mystery, where the pumpkins whispered their secrets every Halloween night, but only to those who were willing to listen and learn. The lessons of the story is: 1. True bravery is facing your fears, even when the path ahead is thorny and uncertain. 2. The strongest bonds are formed when friends support each other through trials and tribulations. 3. Not all secrets need to be uncovered. Sometimes, the wisest choice is to cherish what you already know, and value what you already have.